In the days when Israel had turned away from the Lord and the land was filled with chaos and trouble, there arose a man named Gideon, a humble servant of God. The people of Israel had long been oppressed by their enemies, the Midianites, who raided their land and left them impoverished and afraid. It was during this time that the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon under an oak tree in Ophrah. The angel said to him, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon was surprised and questioned, "If the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened? Where are all his wonders which our fathers told us about?" The angel responded with confidence, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel from the hand of Midian. Am I not sending you?" Gideon, aware of his own weakness and from a humble family, hesitated. He said, "Pardon me, my lord, but how can I save Israel? My family is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." But the Lord assured him, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." Gideon, filled with a mixture of fear and faith, prepared to obey God's command. He asked for a sign to confirm that it was truly God speaking to him. That night, he placed a fleece of wool on the ground. He prayed, "If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have promised, then let the fleece be wet with dew while the ground remains dry." God granted his request. The next morning Gideon wrung out the fleece and it was soaked with dew, while the ground was dry. Still uncertain, Gideon asked for another sign, this time reversing the request, "Let the fleece be dry, and the ground be wet with dew." God did as Gideon asked, and the fleece remained dry while the ground was soaked. Encouraged by God's signs, Gideon gathered an army of 32,000 men to fight the Midianites. But God had a different plan. He told Gideon, "The people are too many. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel will boast against me, saying, 'My own strength has saved me.'" So, God instructed Gideon to reduce his army. First, he told him to let anyone who was afraid go home. About 22,000 men left, leaving only 10,000. But God was not yet satisfied. He said, "There are still too many. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you." Gideon obeyed. Those who lapped water with their tongues like dogs were to be separated from those who knelt to drink. The Lord told Gideon, "With these 300 men I will deliver Midian." The rest were sent home. Now, with only 300 men, Gideon prepared for battle. That night, God told Gideon to watch as he and his men surrounded the Midianite camp. Armed with only trumpets, jars, and torches, they quietly took their positions. At God's signal, they blew the trumpets, broke the jars to reveal the torches, and shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." The Midianites were thrown into chaos, each man fleeing in fear, and they ended up fighting each other. The victory was complete, and Israel was freed from their oppressors. After the victory, the people wanted to make Gideon king, but he refused. He declared, "The Lord will rule over you." Gideon became a respected leader, living in wealth and having many wives and 70 sons. Yet, among his sons was one named Abimelech, who was different from the others. Abimelech was the son of a concubine from Shechem, a city with great influence. From childhood, Abimelech felt inferior because he was born of a lesser status, which fueled his desire to rise above his position by any means necessary. Abimelech was clever, manipulative, and driven by relentless ambition. He believed that he was destined for greatness and that his right to rule was undeniable. When Gideon died, Abimelech saw his chance to seize power. He approached the elders of Shechem, the influential city where his mother was from. With cunning words, Abimelech appealed to their pride, saying, "You are my flesh and blood. Would you not prefer to be ruled by someone from your own city rather than by Gideon's sons who have no ties to Shechem?" He promised them prosperity and security under his leadership, playing on their desire for independence. The elders, convinced by Abimelech's words and promises, pledged their support. To secure their allegiance, they gave Abimelech 70 silver coins from the temple of Baal. With this wealth, Ankh gathered a private army of ruthless mercenaries, men who cared only for money and violence. His plan was to eliminate any rivals and secure the throne. Ankh's cruelty was horrifying. To ensure no one could challenge him, he ordered his mercenaries to slaughter his own brothers, Gideon's 70 sons, so that no one would stand in his path. The massacre was brutal and complete. Only one brother named Jotham escaped, hiding in the mountains. From his hiding place, Jotham saw the carnage and was filled with grief and anger. He climbed Mount Gish and shouted a warning to all the people of Shechem in a parable. Jotham's parable told of the trees seeking a king. First, the trees approached the olive tree, which refused to give up its oil to rule over the others. Then, the fig tree declined, preferring to produce sweet fruit rather than rain. Next, the vines refused, choosing to bring joy through their wine rather than seek authority. Finally, the trees approached the thorn bush, a worthless and dangerous plant. The thorn bush accepted their proposal, saying, "If you truly want a king to reign over you, come and take shelter in my shade. But if you refuse, then fire will come out of the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon." Jotham's parable was a clear warning. The noble trees represented righteous leaders who understood their purpose, while the thorn bush symbolized Ankh, unworthy and destructive. The people of Shechem, lured by greed and ambition, had chosen the thorn bush as their king. Jotham foretold that this choice would lead to destruction, as fire, symbolizing divine judgment, would burn everything down. Ankh's rule, though initially marked by strength and cunning, soon turned into chaos and unrest. For 3 years, he ruled Israel, but his reign was unstable. His cruelty and treachery planted distrust among his followers and the people. His massacre of his brothers cast a shadow of fear and suspicion. Many who had supported him now questioned their choices, fearing that they too could be betrayed or killed. God, seeing the injustice and violence of Ankh's reign, sent a spirit of discord among the leaders and the people of Shechem. This spirit intensified their disagreements and fueled rebellion. The leaders and citizens grew increasingly discontented, and unrest spread throughout the land. The city of Shechem, which had once hailed Ankh as king, now turned against him. A man named Gaal, the son of Ide, arrived in Shechem and began to stir rebellion. He openly challenged Ankh's legitimacy and urged the people to rise against him. Many disillusioned citizens listened and joined Gaal in opposition. The rebellion grew, and Ankh's officials, including Zebul the governor, learned of the conspiracy. They warned Ankh and prepared for battle. At dawn, Ankh and his soldiers launched a surprise attack on Gaal and the rebels. The battle was fierce, and Ankh's forces managed to scatter the rebels temporarily. Yet, the unrest did not end there. The discontent simmered beneath the surface, and soon the people of Shechem rose again in rebellion, more determined than before. In their fury and desperation, the people of Shechem laid siege to Ankh's city. Ankh responded with brutal force, laying waste to everything and everyone in his path. He burned the city of Shechem to the ground, leaving it in ruins. To make sure nothing would grow there again, he spread salt over the ashes, a symbol of destruction and desolation. But Ankh's cruelty did not stop there. His next target was the city of Tiz. The inhabitants sought refuge in a fortified tower, hoping to escape Ankh's wrath. When Ankh and his soldiers arrived, they besieged the city and laid siege to the tower. The defenders inside were brave, but overwhelmed by Ankh's relentless assault. In a desperate act of courage, a woman from the top of the tower picked up a heavy millstone and hurled it at Ankh. The stone struck him on the head, shattering his skull and grievously wounding him. Ankh was dazed and bleeding, his vision blurred as he fell to the ground. As he lay wounded, he was filled with shame and humiliation. Knowing death was near, Ankh called for his armor-bearer and begged him to kill him so that he would not be remembered as a man slain by a woman. The armor-bearer, moved by his master's shame, pierced Ankh with his sword, ending his life. Thus, the tyrant Ankh died on the battlefield, defeated and humiliated, his reign of violence finally brought to an end. The death of Abimelech was a divine act of justice. The millstone that struck him symbolized God's judgment falling upon him for his cruelty and betrayal. His fall served as a stark warning that unchecked ambition and the love of power lead inevitably to destruction. His story teaches us that true leadership is rooted in righteousness, humility, and obedience to God's will. Those who seek power through injustice and bloodshed will ultimately face divine retribution. The land of Israel, though scarred by the violence of Abimelech's reign, began to recover as God's justice was fulfilled. The people learned a vital lesson about the dangers of greed, betrayal, and pride. They saw that only God's justice can truly bring peace and righteousness. The story of Abimelech is a powerful reminder that no matter how dark the times may seem, God's justice will prevail in His perfect timing. Let this story inspire us to seek leaders who are humble, just, and devoted to God's ways. Let us remember that true greatness is not measured by wealth or power, but by integrity and righteousness. And always trust that divine justice, though sometimes delayed, will come in its perfect time to bring justice and restore righteousness. Thank you for watching this incredible story from the Bible. If you found this lesson meaningful, please like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring Bible stories. Share this video with your friends, family, and church group to spread these lessons far and wide. Remember, in the end, light always triumphs over darkness. Stay blessed, and see you in the next video.